Well, hello there, gang. Welcome to the 30. I want to thank you for being here. This is another episode of the 30. If you are watching us for the first time, I want to thank you for being you've been with us for all these years and months. Thank you certainly for continue to be our guests, one of our supporters. This is the space for meaningful conversation designed to support your personal, professional, and leadership growth. Of course, the 30 is a production of the Jackman Group LLC, and we are glad that you decided to join us on this another episode of the 30. Tonight, I want to talk about something that shows up in leadership, in work. It also shows up in marriage. It shows up in family. It shows up in ministry. It shows up in teams. And if we're honest, it shows up in everyday life. And that is the cost of unexpected expectations. And that's what our topic is for tonight's episode of the 30. The cost of unspoken expectations. If you're watching us from any of our online channels, if you're watching us from YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, The 30 with Patrick. And if you're watching us from LinkedIn, make sure that you like as well as share this broadcast with those that may not see it or have not been exposed to it. But anyhow, let's get started in terms of our topic, because a lot of tension we experience is not always caused by someone or somebody trying to do the wrong thing. Instead, sometimes it's caused by an expectation that was there but never clearly spoken. I've been there, I've been on both sides, and I know that if you're honest with yourself like me, you have been on both sides, either not giving clear expectations or not hearing clear expectations. See, what happens is that we assume the other person or persons knew. We assume they understood. We assume that they saw it the way we did. We also assume that they would just pick up on it. Everything will be all right. If they just pick up on what we were are putting down, everything will be fine. But it's not that easy, because when they didn't, or when they don't react in the way that we expect them to be, what happens? We become frustrated, we become upset, we become disappointed, and at times we become distant. And confusion can even show up because we expect something that is not there. Not always because of bad intent, but because of the unspoken expectation. And here's the thing: more of our tension comes from unexpected expectation than we admit. If we are totally honest with ourselves, most of the tension that we experience, or most of the tension that others experience because of us, comes from unspoken expectations. Because sometimes people are carrying frustration with others. We carry it with some that are close to us, and then others that are close to us carry it because of us. Because the truth is, they never really made the expectation plain. We never made the expectation plain. So as a result, there's tension in the air. There's tension between the person that's giving and the person that's expecting. See, expectations are not the problem, though. We all have expectations. We all have expectations. In whatever area of life that we're in, we all have expectations. We all carry them. We have expectations in leadership. We have expectations at home. We have expectations in marriage. We have expectations in our work teams, in our sports teams. We have expectations in relationships and friendships. We even have expectations in church. We have expectations everywhere we are. And the key to understanding is that having expectations is normal. It's a normal thing. If you didn't have them, I truly would have to worry about you, because we all have expectations. I remember years back in July 31st would be 16 years that my wife and I have been married. But I remember when we went through premarital class at our church. And in the first session of the premarital was about expectations. And I had this long list of expectations, list that I wrote down, but list that I also, and that we talked about, and list that I didn't speak about, but I had them. And I remember our first real true discussion was around the expectations, because there were some expectations that I had that my dear wife now says, nope, that is not an expectation that I can carry out. And then there are some expectations that I didn't say, but I wanted to say, but I didn't say. So unspoken expectations. See, the problem is not that the expectation exists. The problem is when expectations remain unspoken and still get treated like if they were clear or clearly understood. That is the problem. It's not the expectation itself, because that's normal. It's when we have the unspoken expectation, but we expect those expectations to be understood. That's where the problem comes in. And folks, that's where the cost begins. Because when I expect something of you, when I expect something from you, but I never really express it, and then I hold you accountable for it, I hold you accountable for not meeting it, now we have a problem. Because I haven't said it, but I expect you to carry it out. I haven't spoken it, but I expect you to carry it out, to understand it. And that's where the problem comes in. So it's not just a communication problem, it's actually a relationship problem. So whether it's in a marriage, in a relationship, at work, at church, in a sports team, wherever the expectation is, it's a relationship problem. Because silence creates confusion, and confusion creates frustration. I'll say that again. Silence creates confusion, and confusion creates frustration. You've heard me say many times before, right? You've heard me say many times before about in terms of silence, in terms of not saying things, in the absence of information, the mind fills in a blank. You've heard me say that over and over again. But sometimes people are carrying emotional weight over something they never actually said. So we need, if we have expectations, we need to speak up. We can't have the unspoken expectations, expect people to carry them out. And that's the problem. We want our teams, we want our those that we are in relationship with, whether it's our husbands or wives or whoever it is, whether it's our sports team or work team or church team, we expect them to carry out our expectations. But we haven't told them what the expectations are. Crazy, isn't it? See, one of the most expensive phrases in leadership and in life is this. These are some of the most expensive phrases. There's a cost to it, folks. Things like, well, I thought that you knew. I thought you knew what I needed. I thought you knew what I meant. I thought you knew what I expected. I thought you knew how important that was to me. I thought you knew. And that happens all the time, more often than we would dare to admit. I thought you knew. I know it happens to me. I don't know about you, but I can only speak for myself. It happens to me. Does it happen to you? Or are you immune from the I thought you knew? Does it happen to you, or are you the person doing it? I thought you knew. That's the most expensive phrase that we can say when it comes to expectations. Because we know from our own experiences that when I thought you knew is used, people don't just end up disappointed. They end up feeling hurt, offended, frustrated, and often confused. I thought you knew. And here's the sad part about all this, right? Is that sometimes in relationships, whether it's personal or professional, those relationships can be damaged over that one phrase, I thought you knew. Something that we haven't said, we haven't expressed it, but we expected the person to understand it. That can be so far from the truth. So as opposed to checking in to understand or have greater clarification of it, we expect the person to get it. We assume that they understood it. We assume that they understand or felt the way we felt, although we haven't said it. Right? See, assumptions can be expensive. They can strain good relationships. They can create unnecessary offense. They can make people feel like if they failed a test that they never knew they were taking. And you've heard me again say some things about assumptions. Assumptions are not just saboteurs of effective leadership. You've heard me say that before, that assumptions are saboteurs of effective leadership. But it's not just that. Assumptions are also saboteurs of relationships. If we were to shift and look at it from a leadership perspective, see, some leaders are frustrated when people with their team members, with individuals, they're frustrated with people, but they were never really clear. And you can admit that. I can admit it. Sometimes I got frustrated and probably still do, right? Because I'm a work in progress. I'm not a I have not arrived and I probably will never arrive. So I'm a work in progress. So I, like you, make mistakes. I expect things from people, but I probably never was clear in what I expect from them. What about you? See, someone I may be focused on the initiative or task, but never really define what that task or initiative looks like. Sometimes we as leaders, we get caught up in all these things, especially if you're a certain type of leader, if you are what we call a leader that's focused on more, I would say a leader that's focused on getting things done, a leader that is focused on the outcome, as opposed to a leader that's focused on process or a leader that's focused on people. That's part of our SDI, right? So if you're focused on getting things done, you may want to, you tend to move forward. Here's the task, here's the initiative, but you never really define what that task or initiative is or what it looks like. See, sometimes as leaders, we want ownership, but we never really explain the standard. Sometimes as leaders, we desire to have better communication with our team members or even in our personal type of relationships. We desire to have better communication, but never said what that looks like. What does better communication mean? Sometimes we want people to step up, but never made it clear what stepping up means in that situation. And then when things fall short, when people don't step up the way we desire them to do, when people don't do the things that we desire them to do, when they are slow in moving forward, when they don't understand what the task or the mission or the initiative is because we've never said it, we never explain it, we've never set what the clear expectation is. What happens? We as leaders, we get frustrated. And sometimes the frustration is not just about performance. Sometimes it's a lack of clarity. And that's on us, right? As the leader, we are not clear in what we desire. We're not clear in the expectations. And these are things that I firmly believe that when it comes to clarity, when it comes to being clear, when it comes to exhibiting clarity or giving clarity, there are a couple of things that I believe without a shadow of a doubt. That clarity is kindness. Clarity is the key, is one of the keys, one of the main keys to exceptional leadership. It's about respect because when expectations are clear, people have something real to respond to. It's when it's not clear that they don't have anything to respond to. But when expectations stay vague, assumed, or unspoken, people are often set up to miss something they were delayed in doing. They are set up for failure when the expectation that we have is or are not clear. And if you lead people, if you cannot keep making silence do the work for you. If you're a leader of people, if you're a leader of teams, if you're taking the helm of something, you cannot keep making silence do the work for you. Communication is that one thing that should do the work. It is supposed to do the work, not silence. You must be clear in terms of communication. You must be clear and check for understanding to ensure that what was heard and understood is what you said or what you intended to say. Folks, that is effective communication because communication is a two-way street. There is a sender and there's a receiver. So if you, as the sender, if your expectation or what you intended to say is not clear and received by the other person, if it's vague, then we have a problem. We have a problem. See, a lot of this comes from maturity and experience. These two things together, experience and maturity, don't just feel like a need. Put them together. They will help you to be more effective in giving clear expectations, but also checking in to ensure that the expectation was heard and understood. See, these two does not just assume understanding. If you're experienced in what you're doing, if you're mature in what you're doing, where you're at, it's just not about expecting understanding, it's about seeking clarity. These two don't sit in silence and then punish people for not reading what was never written. Experience and maturity. Let's be real. Because without those two, some of us have, and we've had, either have or had, true reactions from others due to things that we never fully communicated. And it takes true humility. It takes maturity again and experience to be humble enough to admit to ourselves, maybe it was me. Maybe the frustration that others are feeling is because of me. Maybe it was my fault because I didn't make the expectation clear. And that takes experience, that takes maturity, that takes humility, that takes honesty. And that does not mean that our need in terms of what we expect is wrong. It simply means that our communication may have been incomplete. So by admitting that we had a part in not giving clear expectations or not speaking our expectations, if we can admit that, then we are making progress. So folks, as we come to the end of another episode, it's time for reflection. And friends, here's what I want you to do. Let's go back to where we started, right? We're going to reflect on and take a step back from where we started. So we started talking about tension. So my question to you is, where in your life have unspoken expectations? Where in your life have unspoken expectations created tension? Has it been in leadership, at work, at home, in relationships, on a team, in friendship, in ministry, in business? Where has those or that unspoken expectation caused tension in your life? Because sometimes what we keep blaming on people is really being fed by what we have not communicated. So it's not about the individuals, it can be, and most times it's about us. So as we close today's episode of the cost of unspoken expectation, I'll leave you with this. The cost of unspoken expectations is real. Not because expectations are wrong, but because silence can create confusion, disappointment, and unnecessary pain. Folks, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for being with me for another episode of The 30. Remember, join our Impact Leaders community. I invite you to join our Impact Leaders community. I cannot end without giving you the invitation. The link is already in the description of this episode. Join us. We have different tiers for you, whether you are at the beginner or if you're at the more advanced. So you can position yourself, and for each tier, there's more. So obviously, if you are at the beginner, you will get a certain amount and then of content, information. If you're at the advanced tier, you will get a lot more. So that's about it. Go ahead. The link is in the description. Click on it. Join us as we continue this journey of providing relevant information and creating a space to help you in your journey, whether it is your personal, professional, leadership, or ministry journey. Until next time, may God bless you. May God be with you and your family. We will see you next time on The 30. Be blessed, everyone.